casting of Rachel Zegler as Snow White was meant to be a high point for Disney. An actress who had just landed a major role in West Side Story was handpicked to play one of the most iconic characters in animation history. However, what should have been a joyous occasion swiftly devolved into a contentious controversy. Some people praised Disney's choice to use a Latina actress for Snow White as a progressive move. Though not everyone agreed, it was a daring move that demonstrated their dedication to diversity and inclusion. Traditional admirers of the original 1937 movie contended that the character's identity was closely linked to the classic fairy tale's description of her fair skin. Discussions about whether this casting was paying homage to the character's spirit or completely rewriting it erupted in online forums, social media posts, and even comment sections. When critics brought attention to Disney's growing practice of leveraging iconic characters to advance social messages, the controversy only intensified. For a lot of fans, this was about more than just Snow White. It was about what they perceived as a trend of putting contemporary ideology ahead of the authenticity of beloved tales. However, this was only the beginning. The real issue started when Rachel Zegler took center stage. Her remarks about the original Snow White story in public fueled the flames and alienated some of the very fans the project desperately needed to win over. On the retcon, while awaiting new filming, cast and crew members got to know Rachel Zegler and taunted. Let's just say those comments didn't strengthen her case, and as the commotion increased in volume, the stakes for Disney. This was more than just a film, it was a test of how well their reimagined classics would still appeal to audiences and generate revenue. It was a pivotal moment for Rachel Zegler that had the potential to either solidify her star power or put an abrupt end to her burgeoning career. However, the controversy didn't end there. The movie itself served as a battlefield for studio desperation and fan indignation even before it was released, discussed Disney's intentions behind this reimagining and the reasons it drove so many people insane. When Disney revealed their Snow White live-action remake, it was obvious that this would not be a straightforward recreation of the 1937 classic. The studio promised to reimagine the story for today's audiences in a modernized manner. Although it seemed like a daring creative move on paper, it turned out to be one of Disney's most contentious choices ever. The first significant alteration was the elimination of some of the most cherished aspects of the tale. The charming prince who awakens Snow White with the kiss of true love was no longer there, nor was the focus on romance as the main theme. Snow White is portrayed by Disney as an independent leader rather than a damsel in distress in this feminist retelling of the classic. For many devoted fans, this felt like a betrayal of the original's timeless appeal, even though it might have struck a chord with some contemporary audiences. Reimagining the Seven Dwarves was the next option. Early concept art and studio statements suggested that a more varied cast of magical creatures would take the place of the classic dwarfs. Although Disney stated that this was done to prevent perpetuating stereotypes, fans countered that it was just another instance of needless alteration to a beloved classic. However, what really infuriated viewers was Disney's apparent dismissal of criticism. Fans thought their devotion to the original story was being ridiculed and felt ignored. The adage, "don't watch it if you don't like it," has become widely used in online discussions, alienating the primary audience. Disney's plan for Snow White may have been to create something new, but instead it shattered the fan base. At a time when the anger seemed to be reaching a breaking point, Disney released the first trailer for the movie, which would take the controversy to a whole new level. The esteemed D23 Expo, where media and fans alike gathered to celebrate Disney's magic, the first trailer for the Snow White remake was unveiled. However, what should have been an exciting moment swiftly devolved into a nightmare for the studio. Not only was the trailer greeted with disillusionment, but it also ignited a backlash on the internet. Right away, fans vented their annoyance on social media, attacking the movie's tone and visuals, among other things. Disney's reimagined story elements that were supposed to appeal to modern sensibilities were met with outright rejection. Many people criticized the trailer's removal of the Seven Dwarfs in favor of what seemed to be a diverse group of human companions, which detractors deemed outdated and unrecognizable, followed by the deluge of hate on websites like YouTube, where the ratio of dislikes to likes was ruthless and dislikes reportedly exceeded 12,000 by more. Not only is this type of response uncommon, but it is unprecedented for a Disney property. Fan-produced boycott calling hashtags went viral, and the outrage filtered into general conversations about whether Disney was losing its magic, and the way Disney responded to the criticism only made matters worse. The studio appeared to double down on its creative choices rather than directly addressing fan concerns. Characterizing the backlash as opposition to advancement, fans accused Disney of being dismissive and tone-deaf, which only served to fuel the flames. The trailer became a symbol of everything that fans felt was wrong with the project, not just a marketing blunder. The real tipping point was when movie star Rachel Zegler entered the debate with remarks that only widened the gulf. What should have been an exciting moment turned into an early warning of disaster. Let's examine how her remarks intensified this dispute in more detail. Rachel Zegler's public remarks escalated the already fierce backlash against Disney's Snow White remake into a full-fledged controversy. Following her highly praised performance in West Side Story, the young actress was at the center of a media frenzy, much of which she caused in interviews before the movie. Zegler wasn't afraid to voice her opinions about the first Snow White. Rather than lauding the well-loved classic, she criticized it for being out of date and problematic. Snow White, in her opinion, is a passive figure who only waits for a prince to save her, stressing that the remake would emphasize independence and empowerment. Although her remarks might have struck a chord with some, they offended a sizable section of Disney's fan base, as longtime fans who were already dubious about the remake felt insulted. It wasn't only about altering the narrative. When videos of Zegler's interviews went viral, it only got worse. Her tone and delivery, which some saw as dismissive, became the subject of memes and parodies. Zegler was accused of arrogance and questioned why she had taken on a role for which she appeared to have little respect. The film had influenced childhoods for generations. Supporters contended that her comments showed a gap between the actress and the target audience, who this film is even meant to appeal to. Became a recurring theme in spite of efforts to mitigate the harm, including Zegler's flimsy apology. The public's opinion had already soured. To many, her remark represented everything that was wrong with Hollywood's strategy for reimagining beloved classics. However, Zegler wasn't the only one facing criticism. Disney was also reeling behind the scenes to salvage the project, and the fallout was just getting started. Let's examine the studio's frantic attempts to control the damage in the Snow White controversy. This isn't an isolated incident, though. It's a part of a broader cultural discussion regarding Hollywood's years-long efforts to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion. ZEI, Disney, and other studios are under growing pressure to retell classic stories for contemporary audiences, cast a wider range of actors, and tell more inclusive stories. Although some have praised these efforts, others have criticized them, with Snow White emerging as the newest flashy figure in this ongoing contest. So maybe, for example, British game designers may have valued the balance between diversity and balance. You can see that in the trailers for The Queen, The Quest of the Kingdom, and Netflix as well. Disney presented Rachel Zegler's casting as Snow White and the reworking of the story's conventional elements as a progressive move, but many fans said it seemed rushed, as if the studio was giving social media messaging more importance than telling stories. This conflict is not new. Advocates of DAE have been completely criticized recent Disney productions like The Little Mermaid remake and Eternals. Critics contend that these changes frequently alienate the very audiences who grew up loving the original films, arguing that Hollywood is trying to rewrite cultural icons without taking into account the audience's preferences. But Snow White, on the other hand, represents progress, a step toward dismantling outdated stereotypes and embracing a more inclusive vision of entertainment. How profoundly these tales speak to fans across generations. Supporters of the remake praise Disney on social media, which only serves to widen this gap. The term woke became a lightning rod in these debates, with critics using it as a shorthand for what they perceived as needless changes to classic stories, while critics criticized the studio for its audacious vision and accused it of fawning and ignoring fan concerns. I read that and I was like, holy cow, fan interviews have become such like a prominent thing we do all week especially. Although the Snow White remake didn't start these tensions, it has come to represent the broader cultural conflict that is currently taking place in Hollywood. As the discussion rages on, it is evident that Disney is fighting for more than just the success of a single movie. It is fighting to keep its position in a rapidly evolving industry. However, Rachel Zegler's personal career was suffering greatly during this time, so let's look at how this controversy affected Rachel's future in Hollywood. Zegler's Snow White was supposed to be a landmark, the lead in a beloved Disney film. That could have cemented her status as one of Hollywood's most promising young stars, but instead it turned into a career-defining scandal that, even before the Snow White backlash, raised serious concerns about her future in the business. Zegler had found it difficult to sustain the momentum she had acquired from her breakthrough performance in West Side Story. Despite her critical acclaim, reports started to surface that producers were reluctant to cast her in major projects due to concerns about her public image. Her remarks about Snow White only served to exacerbate these fears, as industry insiders reportedly saw her as a risk in terms of fan reception. The backlash surrounding her remarks put her in a precarious position, with social media, which was once a place where Zegler connected with fans, turning into a minefield of criticism written by men who claimed they were going to just make fun of her. Zegler became a pretty popular trending hashtag, demanded that she be replaced. It wasn't just admirers, many in the industry started to perceive her as a divisive personality who added more controversy than value to a project, while Zegler's attempts to control the damage failed. Her apology, although well-meaning, was perceived by many as being insincere and arriving too late to stop the negative trend. Consequently, she faced an uphill battle. The fallout from Snow White serves as a sobering reminder of how swiftly public opinion can shift, while she works to repair her reputation among fans and in the industry as a rising star. Rachel Zegler is not the only Disney employee feeling pressured. The stakes are even higher as the company struggles with the future of their brand. Let's examine how this controversy is affecting the studio's legacy. Some people think she has the talent to recover, while others contend that the controversy has permanently damaged her career. There is more to the Snow White controversy than just a PR catastrophe. For Disney, it represents a turning point in the studio's overall strategy. Disney has been the industry leader in family entertainment for many years, timeless tales that appeal to all ages, but the criticism of Snow White has called into question that legacy, leading many to wonder if the Disney magic is beginning to wane at its foundation. Disney's dedication to reimagining its classics with contemporary themes is admirable in theory, but when it is not carried out well, it runs the risk of alienating fans who cherish the originals. The Snow White trailer's overwhelmingly negative reception, combined with the divisive public debate, has put Disney in a precarious position. Can it continue this strategy of reimagining classics? Or does this mean that these live-action remakes are coming to an end? Not just one movie is at risk, but the studio's overall capacity to adjust to a quickly evolving entertainment landscape. Will Disney take note of this and change course? Or will it strengthen its current strategy and run the risk of further alienation? With Snow White scheduled for release in 2025, the world will be closely observing its core fan base. But what about Rachel Zegler? Her future is in jeopardy because Snow White's success or failure will probably determine where she goes in Hollywood. If the movie can overcome its obstacles and find a viewer, it could save her career. If not, it could serve as an example of how one project can ruin a rising star. A controversy involves more than just one film. It's a reflection of the conflicts between creativity and culture that are reshaping Hollywood today, as well as the clash between progress, nostalgia, and the needs of a worldwide audience. Disney fans and Rachel Zegler are involved in the drama's development and conclusion is still unknown. What are your thoughts? Is this backlash an indication of growing pains in the quest for a new creative era? Or has Disney lost its magic? Will Rachel Zegler overcome the obstacles and restore her reputation? Tell us what you think. Remember to hit the bell, like, and subscribe in the comment section below. Icon to ensure you don't miss our in-depth analyses of Hollywood's most important stories. For more breaking celebrity news, check back soon.